The top of the morning to you. This is Monday with Friday, wishing for you a marvelous week ahead. Last week, I addressed the matter of perspective using the metaphor of a balcony overlooking a ballroom floor. We saw that a balcony view is quite different to a view from the floor. To offer you today yet a different truth about perspective, I'll change the metaphor to that of a boundary. Ball games of all kinds are played on either a field or a court with boundaries. In tennis, volleyball, and other such sports, a ball that falls outside the boundary creates demerits for the player who puts it there. In cricket and baseball, it's the exact opposite. The player who puts the ball beyond the boundary scores big. In the case of state or international lines, the boundary is where one jurisdiction or nationality ends and another begins. Now, if you'll think for a moment about a boundary as the limits for culture or behavior, you'll get a little closer to what I have in mind today. Persons may belong to an organization, group, club, business, religious entity, political party, or hold firmly to an ideology that boxes them into a certain culture or identity. They may be deeply involved therein, right in the center of things. However, those persons may never travel to the edges, to the boundaries of the organization, and so there are two things they are likely to miss. First, they might overlook how people on the fringes, the boundaries, view the organization. They may fail to grasp how differently, often negatively, people on the boundaries view either the organization or the leaders of the organization, no matter how great the leaders might think they might be. Power brokers in the center or at the headquarters or in the executive often forget, ignore, doubt or diminish people on the margins and boundaries, excluding those valued stakeholders' boundary views from decisions and actions that should happen in the center that should ripple out to the boundaries. In cricket, the batsman or bowler on the pitch in the center of the field who disregards who's on the boundary and where is likely to cause his side to lose the game miserably. The second thing persons who hold only to the center would miss by not also considering views from the boundaries is what lies beyond the boundary. In organizational dynamics thinking, beyond the boundary is where change lies. Beyond the boundary are many neighboring organizations who either do things similarly to what yours does and probably do them better, or they're doing completely different things, but with approaches from which your organization can draw inspiration, imagination, learn, adapt, and use. The center of organizations is always brimming with the propensity to deceive its occupants that all is well. It's at the boundary alone you learn things that the center will never teach you about your organization. It's at the boundary alone that you are able to see your organization and frankly yourself differently and can assess and evaluate both more accurately. It's at the boundaries alone that get you to travel beyond your organization and observe other organizations. It's at the boundaries alone that you can imagine your organization functioning in new ways that you never thought it could, that you might have heard other people long before say, we never tried it that way and we just can't. When you read books, magazines, articles, studies, and news items about trends elsewhere, you're going to the boundary. When you disabuse your mind that you're the best and become open to criticism, you leap to the boundary. This is why people who are new to your organization can often see some things that folks who've been deep in the middle of it just cannot see. If those new people were ever to critique what they see, the organizations tend to dismiss them as meddling Johnnies come lately. Organizations that are hostile to this kind of criticism from people who are new with fresh eyes and fresh airs lose big. For quite often, the Johnnies come lately are often right. This is also why some immigrants can often see, evaluate, and analyze the country of your birth way better than you can, because these immigrants have seen your country from the boundary as well as in the middle. It is people with perspectives from the boundary who take climate change seriously, for they don't have their heads buried in an oil field or a bank account somewhere. Boundary perspective folks never hold so fast and tight to their own views or ideology or nationality or political party or religion or traditions to the extent that they never learn from another's. And that's my segue for leaving behind thoughts about the boundary vis-a-vis organizations to applying boundary perspective to our personal lives. That is where I will take you next week. But for now, I am Michael Friday, and your week just got better. I'll see you again next week. Happy Monday, all the way to the boundaries of the weekend, Friday.